Again, same problem. This student got 72. So what did they do? If you can't see, move or stand up or whatever so you can see my screen.
They multiplied the sides. They like split it into like 3 sections, and then they multiplied the 2 sides that were available.
Okay.
They didn't subtract what was like in the middle section there. They multiplied 9 times 3, but that length is no longer 9 since they broke it up.
The dotted lines are not 9. And this is not 9. That length is not 9, right? Mm-hmm. And then what are the dotted lines? What did they use there? They used 3. Are the dotted lines going to be 3? So they didn't get the right numbers for the middle section. They kind of had a nice strategy or approach going, but the students found the correct area for the left and the right sections, but the middle one is incorrect, and the student used the numbers that were on the paper, so they might have just been going a little too fast. And that's typical of what we see with our students, is that they're in a hurry because it's a time test. So there we go. There's another thing we need to practice with them is we a lot of times don't give them tests that are timed tests. And so they need to practice that so that they're used to it and they don't get nervous and don't get stressed. We all get stressed with a time test, right? Right? I think most of us do. Student C. Oh, this one's a little more complicated. They got 69. What did they do?
They pretty much multiplied like all the sides that were available. They like divided it up into just basically how many.
They just took the whole thing and made it into 5 sections and worked from there. Okay?
They're very specific.
Yeah, it was very specific. Okay, and I know y'all are up here where you can see it better, but let's let other people answer too. So 3 times 3 for this section would be 9, and then they used 8 for this section times 3, which would be correct, but is the 8 correct? They forgot to deduct so it should be 5. And then this is 3 times 3, and this is 2 times 3, and this they did 3 times 7, so that looks right. So, they just miscalculated on on 2 sections, the lower left and the lower right. They had a good strategy going. Okay, student D, look at this. They got 63. We're getting closer. See, answer 60. Close doesn't help, though. So what was their approach? Somebody other than the front row?
Well, they tried to make it into a whole rectangle, and they probably should have showed more work so you could at least kind of follow what's going on, maybe where their numbers came from. But it looks like they tried to make it into a whole rectangle.
Again, they had a good strategy. They thought, well, I'll just make this whole thing one big rectangle, and then I'll subtract the sections that really are not part of the diagram. Well, they didn't do, then they got probably in a hurry and they forgot to subtract the unused sections. Or they just did that and then they were kind of stalled out and thought, oh, now I don't know what to do. Because a lot of times students do well with a one-step problem, but most of these exams, like a benchmark exam or ACT Inspire, are going to be multi-step problems, multiple step problems. And that's one thing we discovered when we started to analyze this, is that they would just do the first step and stop and move on. And we needed to start making sure that we gave them problems that mimicked that were multiple step problems. Okay, last student for the example, student E. This student got 360. 360. Trying to get it so you can see all of their work. So what did they do? It's hard to read from the back of the room. This parentheses is 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 9. And this out of parentheses is 3 plus 2 plus 7 plus 8. And then they multiplied the two sets of parentheses. So what do you think was going on in their brain? What were they thinking?
They're multiplying the horizontal lines by the vertical sides.
Okay, so they're taking the formula, length times width, and they're putting all of the numbers that are lengths, the verticals, and all of the horizontals together and going that approach. Okay? But that didn't work. Okay, the student added all the lengths and all the widths and then before they multiplied. Okay? So, order of operations is an issue there. Now, you have a very similar problem, and the problem is, so we're about to move to our group work. I'm going to try to enlarge this a tiny bit. I can just show it on this screen.
Maybe.
So I'm going to let you self-group just because it's faster. But I want you to work in teams, and I want you to evaluate examples of student work. And you're going to have a blue copy that's a classroom set. And I'm going to ask you not to write on these. And I need these back. And then you're also going to do the same sort of thing. These are examples of third grade benchmark. These are released items. These were real problems, real students, several years after the test has been evaluated and over and done with, they release the test items. And so then that gives us something as teachers to look at and go by, because even though it's not a functional test any longer, the current test will probably have similar problems. Until we get to a situation where we change tests, like with Park and then now ACT Inspire, it'll be a few years before you have any released items to fall back on. Now, these problems, these examples, are dealing with, guess what? Fractions. Lots of people have trouble with fractions. And when I say see handouts, I'm meaning the blue copy. On the blue copy, as you can see in a second, I'll just go ahead and give it to you so you can see what I'm talking about. Notice there's a box that they're supposed to put their answer in. Remember, this is the classroom set, and thank you. And I'm going to ask you to give those back to me, but I'm going to give you an abbreviated version of the blue copy in just a second, and it's going to be on white paper, and you can write on the white paper. All right? So let's look at this. Student A, you've got the problem, you've got the answer that they bubbled in, and then you've also got a box where they were supposed to show how they determine the answer, kind of give a reason. Then look at the bottom of the sheet. You've got what I call kind of the answer. You've got the correct answer of what how the student would be evaluated. Now you're not evaluating the student, you're just trying to figure out why they missed it and what you could do to reteach it. Okay? But this info at the bottom of the page might help you address those two questions. Okay? And you've got 5 students again. Now what I'm going to hand out is actually, I guess you could say, the page that you can write on. So you're going to have what I call a white analysis sheet, and it's a shorter version of all of the examples. of all of the blue classroom set copies. Put your name on this. I would take it with me. It might help you on the individual work. Now, while I'm handing these out, let's talk about this part of it. I would like for there to be somebody in each group that's either in these math courses now or you've already taken those. And for middle level and for middle level, the courses would be structures of arithmetic or informal geometry. And then for, you each get one of those.
Oh, they're different.
They're front and back.
Oh.
And try to save paper. In elementary, early childhood, you have 4 math classes. I don't remember the names of them.
Remember since data 1 and 2, geometry, American.
Okay, so you just need to make sure you've got somebody in your group that's aware of those classes. So raise your hand if you have not ever had any of those classes yet. Anybody? Okay, so we just have one person that needs to make sure they get, you're going to be fine. You're going to be stuck with a bunch of people that are in that group. Now, we have about 20 minutes, so we're going to just spend about 15 minutes at the most on the group work, okay? So, you can move around however you want to. It might be easier for Tyler to move over and work with these 3. These 3 can work together. Y'all can be a group of 3. Y'all can be a group of 4. Y'all can be a group of 4, and y'all can just, the 2 of you can just turn around, and you can be a group of 4. And y'all just, drag your chairs around, whatever you need to do. Does that sound okay? Okay. Raise your hand if I didn't give you a group. All right. So, what are you doing in your group? You're going to look at student A all together, and then on the white piece of paper, you can write notes about what y'all discuss and decide the student, has an issue with. Questions about what to do with the group work? Anybody? Okay.